Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The medical marijuana. The medical marijuana. Radio show. The medical marijuana for you and me. Ah, yeah, the medical marijuana. Whoa, 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 ah, yeah, the medical. It's the medical marijuana show. You will know.
I want to talk to you.
Everybody, welcome to another edition of Medical Marijuana Radio for Saturday the 16th of August 2014. I'm your host Larry Love, and we're here every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Mountain, 6 on the West Coast, 9 on the East, and do the math in between to bring you the latest information on medical marijuana, adult use marijuana, and recreational marijuana. Somebody tell me what the difference between adult use and recreational is, okay? Email me at info@mmjradio.com if you know the difference. Tonight we're going to play a lot of news that is very interesting. I have a wonderful piece from a gentleman from England who was given 3 months to live with liver cancer, and Rick Simpson Oil has him out and around and beating it. So there's hope out there for people. I had the opportunity to go to a meeting today here in Santa Fe. They're putting together an alliance, a patient alliance, an affiliate of the Albuquerque, New Mexico Patient Alliance, and it was very interesting. We're going to have Karen Byers on to discuss what happened today, and of course tomorrow is, I believe, is the meeting in Albuquerque for those people down there. So we will be doing that, and of course we'd like to take your calls. So after the first break, when we have Karen on, if anybody would like to call in and talk, 505-514-0098. Also 575-519-4MMJ. And we'd love to talk to you after the break. But first, here in New Mexico, if you're going to find the strains that you need, that you want, you have to shop around.
You better shop around. Oh, yeah, you better shop around. Shop around.
Yes, and in Canaceutics, a wonderful place down in Albuquerque, this week they will have Kosher Kush, Lemon Skunk, Girl Scout Cookies, 818 Headband, Super Lemon Haze, Ghost Train Haze, which is an excellent strain, and Chem Dog. Again, that's Canaceutics in Albuquerque. CG Corrigan, they have a bunch of strains here. Their indicas are Blackwater Kush, Grape Ape, Master Kush, New Jersey Style. Now, what New Jersey Style means, because I finally asked them, was those are rolled joints that are bud only, no leaf, no trim. So that's what New Jersey Style means down at CG Corrigan. They also have Maximum Kush, Mercury OG, Pineapple Thai, Purple Kush. Let's see, their sativas are Alaskan Thunder F, and Amnesia, Blue Dream, Green Crack, Shipwreck, Skunk Number 1, and Sour Chem. Their hybrids their sativa dominant hybrids are Cinderella 99, Chunky Cherry Malawi, Love Train, Green Crack crossed with Sour Diesel, New York Diesel, New Jersey Style, Pineapple Express, Power Plant, Sour Chem crossed with OG18, Sour Diesel, and X-rated. Their hybrids on the indica dominant side are Cookie, G13 Haze, God's Gift, Grand Platinum, Humboldt Grape, Jedi Death Star, Mango Kush, OG18, OG Kush 18, Pineapple Kush, Pineapple Skunk, Skywalker OG Kush, Whiteberry NJ Style. Their hybrids are Funky and Uprise OG. Their CBD strains are a Tota Madre and Champagne. Again, that's C.G. Corrigan. Let's see, in Albuquerque, bud available at High Desert Relief this week is AK-47. It's a high CBD AK pheno. Blue Dream, Blackberry Kush, LA Confidential Cheese, New York City Diesel, Purple Kush, and Pre-98 Bubba Kush. Again, that is at High Desert Relief. Medzen will have Big Bang, Bubba Kush, Hindu Kush, Blue Moon, Razzleberry, Grape God, OG Kush, Bubble Jack, and Urkel Star Dog. And that again is Medzen over at New Mexican up here in Santa Fe. Super Silver Haze, Antoinette's Dream, G13 Haze, Trainwreck, LA Confidential, CBD strains, AK-47, Skunk Haze, Shark Shock, and Harlequin. Popcorn Bud this week is Silver Haze and CBD Skunk Haze. Their popcorn bud is $32 an eighth. New Mexico Top Organics up here in Santa Fe has Greenleaf Rack, which is R-A-K, I have no idea what that is. RX, Sour Diesel, White Widow, Blue Dream, Oracle, Pakistan Valley, and Wonder Cream. Their BHO available strains are Greenleaf and Oracle. Again, New Mexico Top Organics. Our Greenleaf in Albuquerque, Cataract Kush, G13 Haze, Greenleaf, Kosher Kush, Super Lemon Haze, Sweet Tooth, and Wow. That's our Greenleaf. Sandia Botanicals, Critical 47, Grape Ape, Sour Cream, a great strain, by the way, and I've had it from them. It's good. Super Silver Haze, and White Rhino. That is the strain report. Don't forget, Monday the 25th is a medical advisory board meeting over at the Department of Health in the regular auditorium at the Runnels building that we always go to. And make sure you go. This is very important, this coming Monday the 25th. This meeting is all about the fact that the Department of Health did not run their new rules and regulations and get advice from the Medical Advisory Board. Medical Advisory Board, they advise the DOH, they advise the health secretary, and those new rules that we were screaming about and still screaming about, some of them, will be discussed with the Medical Advisory Board, and we want you to show up again to talk about what your concerns are with the new rules. Which ones don't you like and should be left out or tweaked and changed? So again, 9 a.m. I believe on August the 25th at the Runnels building here in Santa Fe. Alrighty, let's see. I want to play this really important clip here. This is a gentleman from England that I mentioned had, well, let him tell his story. Here he is. His name is Michael, I believe.
Good evening, my name is Mike Cutler. I'm 63 years of age, and I am scripted because I do wander. So here we go. In and around August 2008, my doctor told me I had end-stage liver cancer with approximately 3 months to live. He put me on a transplant list, and in November 2008, I received a liver transplant. I had a few complications, was re-admitted and cut open again, so they could stitch netting into my inner wall to stop my organs pushing out through the scar tissue. From that day, I suffered extreme pain, often leaving me in tears of anguish. Then the onslaught of painkillers. As the weeks went by, the stronger the pill and the dosage. Then the day when I was told that the cancer had returned, after much torture from the hospital trying different experiments. Hey, I was dying, sign this waiver and we'll try new things which we haven't tried on humans yet. They just might work, but they didn't. In the end, they gave up and sent me home to die with a large bag of morphine. My physical state deteriorated rapidly and I became bedridden. My wife Tina was my rock. Bit emotional. She held me when I was scared. She soothed me in the middle of the night when I was racked with pain. Administered my drugs because my hands were shaking too much. I remember laying there trying to remember who I was, covered in this dark mist that surrounded me. Through the haze I could see very little and prayed now that I would die to end the suffering. But even in the darkest place, there is a glimmer of light, and the mist would disperse. And it was in those moments of clarity I decided that I was not going to die. I started to search the internet for answers. I wrote to every cancer charity going. I got one reply from Macmillan. The rest did not want to know. I came across Rick Simpson on YouTube. I watched as he demonstrated making the oil from cannabis, then listened to the stories of success. But in your mind, you're saying, can this be really true? If so, why isn't our government allowing our doctors to prescribe this for sick people? I managed to find some oil through some fluke or other and began taking it on the 25th of April 2013. I began to sleep and eat better, and after 3 days, I stopped taking the morphine. I just didn't need it anymore. I told my doctor that I was taking cannabis oil, who was more shocked over the fact that I wasn't having serious withdrawal symptoms. A couple of months later, I thought I was coughing up blood. So back to the doctors for what I thought was going to be more bad news. But he said he didn't know what it was, but it's not blood. Okay, so my wife went and bought me a microscope and a software package to go with it, plugged it in, hooked up to the computer. I looked onto the screen in amazement. I photographed what I saw, and with the aid of the software, I was able to search and see what it was. Dead cancer cells. Oh my God. I went back to the doctor, who referred me back to the hospital where I received my transplant. They said, well, we better have you back in for a biopsy. Shortly after, I was told the cancer had gone. Since then, I still take my nightly pill, and I will do so for the rest of my life. Since then, I've helped lots of other people. And I'll never turn anyone away. For sick people to be condemned as criminals for using a drug that's been used for thousands of years and has proved its healing power is not just wrong, it's in breach of our human rights. I'm not going away, and more people to stand up and be counted, then we can be a force to be reckoned with. And we will change the laws. That's why the United Patients Alliance was formed, to give people a voice. So let's stand under that one banner and be heard.
So that's Mike Cutler, and I hope that gives some of you out there some hope, because there is hope out there for people who have even been told that they have 3 or 6 months to live. But you have to do something about it, and you got to try. Now, who knows if it works for everybody? All we have is anecdotal information, but it seems to be working for a lot of people. People need to get started early on with the oil, and it's really important. I hear that even for healthy people, that taking the oil can like reset your body. Okay. Listen, when some of us are dead in 20 years just from old age and living a good life, all you young people out there will see the studies that are going to be started now, and that will be coming out over the next few years, and we will be. People will thank us for all this work that Rick Simpson has been doing all the years and trying to educate people. We'll be lauded eventually, I'm sure. But there's always naysayers out there, and we have to watch out for that. And speaking of naysayers, after the break, a little later, I have some funny little clips to play about the naysayers. Pat Robertson has a great one, and then there's a veterinarian that's got a great one as well. Let's see, one more little clip before we take a little break. How much THC is in a dab? Now, dabbing is something that some people have not even heard of, but it's a way of taking in high percentages of THC using oil. And this, again, how much THC is in a dab?
So when people ask about dabbing, does everybody know what dabbing is? No. So I guess it's sort of a new phenomenon, but not really, because, from early times, they were concentrating cannabis by making hashish, right? We don't know always how they were using it. They were probably smoking it often. But now, we have even more refined techniques with really good extraction efficiency. And so you can take, X amount of flour and get 25% of extraction efficiency and come back with a concentrate that's 80% THC. So if you have a gram of that oil, which fills 1.1 grams will fill a 1 cc syringe, how many milligrams of THC are in that syringe? 800 milligrams, right? That's a lot of THC. What do you think an average dose of THC is? 25? Any other guesses? What's an effective dose? A range? Anybody have an idea? 4 to 5, 10. Well, you saw Marinol. It's in 2.5, 5, and 10. So that comes from clinical study, right? So 2.5, naive people might have really negative experiences on 2.5 milligrams of THC, whereas somebody else with a different endocannabinoid tone or a disease condition might experience nothing at 2.5 milligrams. But there are people, myself included, that 1 milligram, I don't want any more than 1 milligram personally. But we know that a 10 milligram dose is enough to cause side effects in most people, especially naive people. So those really high doses, they either just take a dab of that oil. So what are we talking? 0.1 cc? And then sometimes they'll put it on top of their plant material, or they'll just, heat a titanium nail or a piece of glass and put it on there and inhale the vapor. And so they're getting a huge shot of THC.
Okay, one more. And how much THC would it take to die?
And so this is just showing, where the basal ganglia is located. Also, there's a really high density in the cerebellum, so effects on motor control. But it is virtually absent in the brain stem. And this is why cannabis or THC is non-toxic, because you can never get a dose that is going to shut down heart rate or respiration. So if you look at the LD50 of some other compounds that do have the capacity to kill people, 192 milligrams, and look at heroin, 22 milligrams per kilogram. And this is the estimated isolated amount of THC, are you ready, that you would need to get to potentially have a lethal dose. Wow. So when we say it's non-toxic, this is one reason we say it's non-toxic, because it can't kill you. And there's been some reports of death recently, but again, it's media hype, because I think a lot of what is going on politically and fallout. And I just kind of put this in a visual. This was for when I was being an expert witness in a court in San Diego for a parent whose son got taken away from him, even though the son had absolutely no access to the cannabis. It was behind a locked door in a locked refrigerator. And so this was just data that I wanted to show the jury, of the relative harm, of other things that this child might encounter in the home, and it would take this much. Again, we got the number here of this is cannabis now. This is not THC. So, and I had to do a bar here because this graph would have been really tall. So just a visual representation and explaining to them why a child is not going to die.
So How much marijuana would it take to kill you? From what I understand, there was a gentleman in some South American country who was killed because he was smuggling in about 300 pounds of marijuana, and he was driving it in his car, and he stopped short and it all fell forward and it hit him in the head. So I guess it takes 300 pounds to kill you. We'll be right back with our guest after these words.
It's all about the 420 MMJ Radio.
I'm Robert Platshorn with Marijuana Facts from the Silver Tour. A new Florida study in the Journal of Molecular and Cellular Neuroscience found that cannabis can slow the effects of Alzheimer's and may in fact be able to halt it entirely. A University of Ohio study showed that people who use marijuana get Alzheimer's at a much lower rate than non-users. Learn more and support the truth at thesilvertour.org. That's thesilvertour.org.
Hi, as you know, over the next few years, the cannabis industry is going to explode into a multi-million-dollar industry. 420webdesign.com is your affordable design provider. 420 Web Design prides themselves on fair prices and a grounded staff. They listen to their ganjapreneurs' website needs. Getting into the marijuana industry doesn't need to break your bank. Our sites come with tons of features. Just a few of them include responsive designs for mobile viewers, easy to update platforms, built-in SEO and SMO tools, enterprise-level security, video tutorials, database backups, Google Maps, onboard analytics, and much more. This is backed by a decade of website design and development experience. For all of your 420 web design needs, go to 420webdesign.com. Again, 420webdesign.com. Check them out.
Have you ever had a problem with overcooking your cannabis oil? You probably wanted to rip your hair out when you burned off all the THC, right? I even cried one time when my brownies failed to make a good impression at the party. Well, I stopped crying when I found Magical Butter. Magical Butter is a device with a microprocessor-controlled program sequencer. It was designed by a scientist and a chemist to precisely extract the benefits of various herbs. Magical Butter easily makes botanical butter, oils, tinctures, lotions, sauces, and more. Magical Butter heats your oil and your herbs at the perfect temperature every time. Check us out at magicalbutter.com because it's magical. Okay, there's a lot of science and chemistry involved, but it sure works like magic.
Again, for your tinctures, butter, and oils, that's magicalbutter.com. This is a great appliance. Use coupon code LOVE to get $20 off.
This is Robert Platshorn with Marijuana Facts from the Silver Tour. According to the DEA's administrative law judge, Francis L. Young, marijuana in its natural form is one of the safest therapeutically active substances known to man. In strict medical terms, marijuana is far safer than many foods we commonly consume. Learn more and support more education at thesilvertour.org. That's thesilvertour.org.
The medical marijuana. The medical marijuana. Radio show.
Okay, we are back. Let me get our guest on the line here. Hang on just a second. Oops, that isn't it. Sorry. All right, no laughing in the studio, please. Let's see. And if you'd like to join the conversation, 505-514-0098 is the number. And for some reason, lines are always open. I wish they weren't. I wish they were busy. Get busy out there, people. Hang on, gotta get this number here. Let's see. 575 5194 MMJ is also a number to call in. I'm not getting any ring. Let me try it again, please. Let's see. 552. All right, let's try it again. Here we go. 505-514-0098.
Hello?
Hi, Karen.
Yes.
It's Larry Love at Medical Marijuana Radio. It was very good to see you today. There was a meeting that you organized down at Fruit of the Earth to bring a patient alliance to Santa Fe and all of northern New Mexico. What got into you? Why do you want to have why do you want to help the patients of New Mexico?
Well, for one reason, I'm a patient myself, so I'm stepping forward as a patient. And then just I had attended the meetings in Albuquerque, and there had been talk of meeting maybe a Northern Northern New Mexico or all over New Mexico group. So I went ahead and initiated it. Started out with a poster-making party right before the rules and regulations. That was our first gathering. And then today was our first official meeting where we stepped forward, and it was a great meeting. I'm so glad everybody came. I really appreciate that you came.
I was very happy to attend, and I think that the conversation was very good. There's a lot of passion going on there. There are issues that really affect the New Mexico patients, and the people that were there really had a lot to say, and I'm hoping that more people will join. I know that they get a lot of people down in Albuquerque, and if I'm not mistaken, there is another meeting tomorrow there. Is that correct?
Yes, there's one down there, though I'm not going, so I'm not clear exactly what time. I think they usually start around 3.
Yeah, they're usually about at 3 o'clock. And is it still at High Desert Relief, the same location?
Yes.
Okay, great. So people in Albuquerque, tomorrow, Sunday the 17th, please go. If you haven't been there before, please go to High Desert Relief and get involved, because we need help. And so tell me a little bit about what we discussed today, and how we should go forward with getting a Northern New Mexico Patients Alliance going.
Okay, so the one thing that we have come up with is that we're going to meet on the third Saturday from noon to 2, just like we did today, and then have time for visiting a little bit before and after. So, and then it's just so gracious of Lyra at Fruit of the Earth Organics. She said that we can continue having that till we outgrow it. So we'll be having it there at 901 Early Street in Santa Fe. And concerning the things we talked about, I've been working on the minutes, and I just really liked that where we did the introductions and we talked about what part of the program we were most interested in, as working on as patients or as important to us. So would you want me to go over those?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, please tell the audience that wasn't there, what people were concerned about.
Okay, so in no particular order, it was brought forth about rural communities having access, and then just patient support in general, patient-to-patient time together, which is what we hope to build through this group. And then certainly you offered your radio show as a means of a call-in show to keep the conversation going on, so we really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And then there was discussion of how the nonprofits are set up that are the producers of the medicine, and just, working and making sure that those structures are in place.
It certainly is time after 5 years for the prices to come down a little bit. So I think that that needs to definitely be worked on, and that was the concern with the nonprofits.
Yeah, well, I think people talked about verification, processes across the board, and that would definitely be one of them. And then we talked about people with their personal provider's license that were interested in forming a subcommittee that would address concerns of that. And things that they need to support as a group. The PPLs.
PPLs, go ahead.
And there was also some discussion of being able to furnish other patients medicine if you have a successful garden, or getting medicine from other sources if your garden wasn't as successful.
And let me just
And what else?
interrupt and say that in that regard, currently, I can't hand a joint to another person that's in the program.
Yeah, we're not allowed to do that,
Yeah.
support each other that way.
Yeah.
So.
But you know what? Before the program, when there was no program, you could hand a joint to somebody. Okay.
Great, yeah. All right, there was discussion around renewals, how people with permanent conditions, why are they still faced with renewals? I thought it was just really interesting that Val brought up because it's a Schedule 1 drug and that all Schedule 1 drugs have to see their doctor every year. So part of maybe changing that is getting it rescheduled.
Right.
And then also the security around patient information as it goes from their doctor over to the DOH and who has access to that and such. That was brought up. And the list is long. You want me to keep going?
Oh, please, yes, because I think that
Okay.
it'll strike a chord with somebody out there, and hopefully they'll want to come and get involved to help change these ill regulations into something that really works and makes the program flourish and really helps the patients, because everything that these rules, when they were put out, when we started screaming in May, were not helping the patients at all. It was actually deterring the whole program. So it's really important that. And I just want to reinforce what the meeting on the 25th is about at the Department of Health. It's the advisory board, which is made up of the fine doctors, medical doctors that were. I guess have volunteered. They don't get paid, but that sit on this board. They are also the same medical doctors that take in consideration new conditions to be added to the program, and so they are also responsible for giving advice on new rules and regulations, which the Department of Health did not do, which was very remiss of them when they put out those new rules. So I think that a lesson was learned. And again, August the 25th, 9 a.m. at the Runnels Building. We need to get people there. Go ahead, Karen, if you have some more there.
Okay, so there was concerns about adequate supplies, not only available at the dispensaries, but or at the providers, but that the 6 ounces was that adequate supplies, or the 70 grams. And then also just organizing, educating, just demystifying the issue for other patients who would benefit, as well as your friends and family and your community support in doing that. And then what else did we have on here? Considering surveys about patient consumption and testing. Possibly might want to do that. And we did talk about how to get other conditions approved, and we are going to approach EPA New Mexico if there's the possibility of having a workshop for that. We'll see how that goes. We wanted to work towards educating doctors, and
boy, we've been asking for that for 5 years. This is very, very important. 5 years ago, in 2009, when I tried to get into the program, I could not find. Nobody would sign. They were just afraid of their DEA licenses, even though it's legal in this state, and they're not writing a prescription. It was set up to be a recommendation, and of course, in the Linen Air and Compassionate Act, there are protections for doctors. They are immune. They are immune from any prosecution in the state for recommending cannabis. Now, I know of 2 doctors, and this is probably why some of the other ones are a little bit leery of doing anything. Dr. Nadachi and nurse practitioner Richard Rubin were thrown out for recommending, and their immunity didn't even come in. So there's some law there that really needs to be exposed and enforced. Okay, doctors need to be educated. We've been asking for years for that, and I'm not sure if the Department of Health sends things out to them or not, but this is something that obviously is foremost on the front of what's going on in our program.
Definitely. I have attended conferences, nationwide conferences, where there are groups that are out doing what do they call extended certification hours for doctors that they have to do every year. So we will definitely look into seeing if it's appropriate for us to host one, or bring that dialogue up anyway.
Yeah, one of the problems, of course, is doctors work so hard cramming so many patients into their workday. When do they want to come and another 2 or 3 hours? It's a problem. It's a tough one for us, but
Well, it's actually a requirement for them to take a program like that every so often. So it's really already part of what doctors do. But I'll send you more information on that. I'm down in the plaza listening to music,
okay,
I don't
cool.
have everything I'd like to reference.
Okay, well,
you
good.
just missed the Elvis tribute. It was really good.
Oh, good. I'm glad I missed that. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
So,
he disappeared on this day.
Oh, it was today. Wasn't it? Was it the?
Yeah, the 16th.
Oh, okay, I thought it was the 17th for some reason. Okay, 16th.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I remember that day because a friend of mine in Los Angeles did a radio show, and I helped produce that night's show when he passed away, and we had people on. It was. I'd love to get a copy of that sometime. It was a long time ago. But anyway, so let me ask you this, Karen. What's the next step to getting this a solid alliance here in northern New Mexico?
Well, I think that what we brought together today is hopefully a core group of people that will, form the organizing efforts around getting more people in. I think that, it was just such a great meeting that everybody left really enthused and, showing interest that they want to participate. So what I'll do next is I'll send out minutes from the meeting so we can all remember those good times we just had together. And we'll set up a meeting for the third Saturday and Fruit of the Earth. Fruit of the Earth Organic. And just continue. It's really kind of my answer. But, we did go over a lot of great training about what to do at the, how to present ourselves at the September 25th meeting. August 25th meeting.
Right.
It's starting to rain. I'm in a rain.
Oh, it's starting.
Okay.
Well, let me just sign off so you don't get too wet
Well, I
over there.
appreciate you having me on this show,
Sure.
and look forward to working together more in the near future.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. That's Karen Byers from the Northern New Mexico Patient Alliance, and I don't know if that's the solid name yet, but Karen, thank you very much. Anytime you have anything to say, please, you're welcome to call in, and we can discuss this. So thank you very much, Karen, for all your effort.
Yours too. Thanks.
All right. Again, that's Karen Byers, and get involved. It's very important, to get involved. We'll be right back after this.
the medical marijuana, the medical marijuana radio, radio show.
Okay, we are back, and let me just give out the numbers again. If you would like to call in and talk for a couple of minutes, please do. 505-514-0098. If any of you were at the meeting today and want to call in and comment and make some more suggestions, in the 575, it's 5194-MMJ. Now, let's have a little fun for the next 2.5 minutes. This is Pat Robertson, who most of you probably know as, I guess, an evangelist, you would call him. And he says that little kids are getting high because marijuana is legal. And this is really quite hysterical.
Rocky Mountain High. But he was talking about the nice, clean air in the Rocky Mountains. He wasn't talking about what's happening in a state that legalized marijuana. Now, everybody, the little kids are getting high. They've got marijuana cupcakes, marijuana soft drinks, marijuana gummy bears.
Sounds like Bill Clinton.
Oh, do you want your little 8th grader to be stoned when he goes to school? Well, welcome to Colorado, where pot is legal. You know, I have been one that has been very much against the incredible incarceration rate in the United States of America. We have made this country a nation of criminals. We have the highest incarceration rate of any nation on the face of the earth. And more so than mainland China, more so than Russia. And what are we doing? We're locking up people for the possession of marijuana. So what I have wanted, and I think it's a right cause, is the decriminalization of marijuana. But apparently the next step is the legalization of it, which is a totally different matter. It's to, you know, full-scale spread of this stuff, and it is not good for people's health. It is destroying their minds, and it is destroying their lungs, and the addiction is pretty heavy, and it's also a gateway drug into the heavier stuff like cocaine and crack and you know, whatever else is out there besides
Twinkies
heroin,
and
et cetera.
Coca-Cola.
There's so many ways that they're sniffing glue. These kids find more ways to destroy themselves. But we, the citizens of Colorado, have got to face the issue. Decriminalization, we're not going to lock the people up because they've got a few ounces of grass sitting in their car. Well, that's smart. Mm-hmm. But opening the doors so little kids can buy marijuana gummy bears.
It's despicable. They're clearly targeting kids with gummy bears, having marijuana and gummy bears and cupcakes and soft drinks.
It's awful.
And that's awful, but totally agree that it shouldn't be a major criminal offense, obviously. But like the guy said, how productive can people be when they're stoned? You know, I mean, come on.
I've never tried, and I hope I don't have to.
Actually, we all out here would love for you to get high, Pat, because it would probably give you some a better attitude towards life. You know, you've been taking money from people for years, living on donations from people who are using you as a crutch. Anyway, Pat Robertson, you're a moron. Anyway, more on that another time. Next up on the Idiot File is pets and the dangers of marijuana. And this is a veterinarian, I guess, who is disregarding what's going on in the veterinary world, because there are people, especially veterinarians using cannabis for end-stage life for pets and helping them leave the planet in a much healthier, well, not necessarily healthier, but in a more comfortable way. So people, you know, veterinarians are now using cannabis for pets, and here's a woman that doesn't think that's right.
Hi, I'm Dr. Narda Robinson, Director of the CSU Center for Comparative and Integrative Pain Medicine. I'm here to talk to you today about marijuana and other cannabis products. There's a lot of interest across the country in these edibles and smokables, and there's changing regulation just constantly. So there is some research with humans that indicates that marijuana or its constituents could have some medical benefits. But the problem is that when our animals get into these items, there can be some serious side effects. Pets can die from an overdose of these products. They can also become very, very ill from much lower doses than affect people. the incidence of marijuana intoxication in small animals is rising rapidly. So the various forms of cannabis preparations are shown here. For the most basic form, we have the bud variety, and that's just the botanical product right here. But then where we get into a lot of trouble are in these edibles. And as you see here, we span from chocolate to cookies to various jelly candies. And in these two plates, what we have are the cannabis-laced version versus the type you buy at the grocery store that does not have any psychoactive drug in it. That's just candy. And then we have a comparison here of the marijuana version versus the straight version. And it would be really hard to tell the difference. And that's where we get into trouble, not only with adults who might think that, well, I often consume a cookie, I'm just going to consume this whole cookie. There might be 10 doses of THC in this. So these candies and cookies and chocolates are so similar to just what we would see every day in a grocery store that it's obvious how any dog or child that would be walking by here could easily just consume them and not anticipate any problem. Dogs and cats do not metabolize the drug THC like a human does, so therefore it takes much less to make them fall into a poison state than it would a human adult. While people may use this for recreational purposes, it's not a fun experience for dogs and cats. They get sick and they get scared. So if your dog or cat is acting strangely, call your veterinarian or local emergency clinic. Your dog or cat might be glassy-eyed, they might have urinary incontinence, they could be vomiting, they could show heart problems, they might look tremulous and incoordinated, or they could lapse into a coma, and as I said, there have been reports of death. It's always in your pet's best interest to inform your veterinarian about what you think is going on. That will help them help your pet faster.
I absolutely agree that you need to educate your pets so that they know what their dosage should be to help them. So that's the end of the idiot file for tonight. Now, this is almost on the idiot file, but this is actually a clip that is debunking some idiots out there and some studies. It says here that marijuana study tying teens' pot use to an IQ drop is flawed, says a new paper just released. So we're debunking the idiots.
There was a study that had said, that had shown, and I believe they conducted it in New Zealand, right, that marijuana use does contribute to lowering your IQ, and now someone is basically tearing it to pieces.
Yeah, well, so basically there was this study that was done where they looked at kids, I shouldn't say kids, they looked at people as a longitudinal study. So they looked at IQ between the ages of 13 and 38. They did a self-report about marijuana use, and they saw that the people who used a lot of marijuana tended to have lower IQs over time. And then other scientists came about and said, wait a minute. This is a longitudinal study. We're looking at correlations here. We're not really measuring causation. It could be any number of things. Possibly that the same people who are using more marijuana have a lower socioeconomic status. And when they ran a model to show what having low SES, which would be low income, difficult housing, a hard time getting enough nutrition, that would also contribute to a lower IQ. So they're not saying that the study was wrong per se. They're just saying that there's no real way to know if the study was wrong without further testing.
Well, they're saying that if you're going to conduct a study, you have to try to, cover all of your bases. You have to try to use a large sample size, and you can't not take other factors into account. But, I mean, the thing is, Jacob and I have spoken about this before. There are all these new studies now that people are trying to do in terms of marijuana use and what effects, if any, it might have that are negative. And so you're going to see these headlines, I feel like, popping up all the time.
And especially, I think, as, maybe not yet in the U.S. because the federal government still hasn't quite loosened its grip on that, but definitely across the world where it is legal to purchase marijuana. And in certain states, it's legal for medicinal use, even though the feds don't really like it. You'll start to see, I think, more legitimate scientific research being done. It's still hard to do in this country because it's against the law. So there's only a few sanctioned labs around the country that are actually allowed to experiment with marijuana, which is why you see these kind of longitudinal studies that are based on self-report. Do you smoke pot? Yeah. Okay, let's measure you before and after.
Or basically everyone in Colorado and Washington,
exactly.
Get ready to just
in California.
Lab rats.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, that's true. Even for what's the word? Recreational.
Yeah, for recreational use. What?
Boy, they were happy, weren't they? Anyway, interesting report. And, the problem with the naysayers are they have to make things up and lie to combat the truth about what cannabis can really do. And it's really a crappy thing to do. Let's see, one more before we go. This is really an important subject, and that is there's a case in Colorado that about drugs in the workplace and policies. There are lawsuits already starting. There's one here in New Mexico, Presbyterian hospital down in Albuquerque hired someone, gave them a drug test, and then fired them because they had marijuana in their system and they were a card holder. They were in the program. It's legal in this state. I have also heard, and this is an alert out there, people, Presbyterian is not friendly. If you have their health insurance, or if you go there, I've been told today a very terrible thing, and that is they have told patients that they will not see them anymore if you tell them that you use marijuana, or if they find it in your system. They will just tell you to go see another doctor. This is outrageous, and something needs to be done about that. So if you go there, if you're using those doctors, be very careful what you tell them. I would not tell them that you're using cannabis, and this is just terrible that we have to do this in a state where it's legal. So here's this report out of Colorado.
More than a third of private employers do some type of drug testing of their employees, but the landscape is changing. Marijuana is now legal in 2 states. It's approved for medical use in nearly half the states. In spite of that, many employers are sticking with their anti-drug policies. And as NPR's Yuki Noguchi reports, those policies are now being tested in court.
A car accident crushed Brandon Coates' upper spine at age 16, leaving him wheelchair-bound. His muscles still spasm, disrupting sleep and causing pain.
If I'm out in public, it's really embarrassing. It's always uncomfortable. When I smoke marijuana, it almost completely alleviates it.
More, he says, than other prescriptions. He smokes at his Denver home at night and says he was never high when answering customer calls at Dish Network.
They always had percentages of where people were, and I was always in the top 5%. I was really good at my job.
But a couple weeks after he was called in for a random drug test 4 years ago, he became persona non grata.
I went to go open the door, and my card wouldn't open up the door anymore.
Michael Evans is the lawyer representing Coates, whose case is going before the Colorado Supreme Court.
We're not pushing for use at work. We're pushing for if you're in the privacy of your own home, you're registered with the state and abiding by the constitutional amendment, is that an okay reason for your employer to fire you?
Since Coates sued Dish, Colorado has legalized pot, making it a regulated substance like alcohol. But, as Evans notes, workplaces still treat pot and test for it in a manner very different from alcohol.
The test that Dish did was a saliva test, and all the test was concerned about is THC present, yes or no?
And therein lies a problem. The standard urine test, most commonly used in employer drug testing, measures the presence of the psychoactive compound THC in pot for days or even weeks. So, unlike a breathalyzer for alcohol, a person need not be high in order to test positive. Barry Sample is Director of Science and Technology for Quest Diagnostics, which conducts millions of drug tests. He says there may eventually be similar impairment tests for pot.
It might be possible at some point. There's some interesting technology that's developing.
But for now, businesses are neither changing nor relaxing the way they test for pot. And that raises some questions for businesses, says Deborah Carey, Vice President at the Society for Human Resource Management.
If you had a martini on Saturday night or you smoked pot on Saturday night, but you're fine on Monday morning, how is Saturday night the employer's business? So I really think that they're going to have to change the way they do testing and find a way to define impairment.
And at least in Colorado, the legalization of pot is putting employers in even murkier legal territory. Under state law, employers can prohibit the use of marijuana at work. But another state law called the Lawful Activities Statute prohibits an employer from discharging an employee for engaging in lawful activity off the premises of the employer during non-working hours.
And so that's where everything really gets muddied up.
Laura Makinen is Legislative Affairs Director in Colorado for the Society for Human Resource Management. She says employers are getting a very mixed message.
We're being told keep your policy as it is, but proceed with caution, because if people are fired, like Mr. Coates, we probably will see lawsuits.
Dish Network, the defendant in the Brandon Coates case, declined to comment. But the company said it is sticking by its drug-free policy, which it says is consistent with the federal law, which still considers pot an illegal substance. Oral arguments for Coates' case are set to begin in late September. Yuki Noguchi, NPR News, Washington.
Okay, so I think basically it shouldn't be called a drug-free workplace. They should call it a medicine-free workplace, because the person sitting next to this gentleman taking dishes, customer service, can pop an oxy whenever they need to because they have a pain in their back. And so it's hypocritical. It's not right. And I think we should start right now a protest against Dish, and anybody that has Dish should absolutely dump it and go to DirecTV. We'll be right back.
The medical
I did that for you.
The medical marijuana radio show.
I want to thank everybody that showed up today at Fruit of the Earth for the Northern New Mexico First Meeting for Patients Alliance. Thank you, and I'll keep you posted on upcoming meetings. We need to get involved. Things need to be changed, and it's very, very important. So I also want to thank Karen for that effort. Thank you for calling the show tonight, Karen. And I also want to thank my two radio mentors, both with the initials HS. You know who you are. Thank you for your inspiration. We'll be back next week, right at 7 o'clock Mountain, and do the math in the other areas. Don't forget, Wednesdays with Larawana. I do a short show, a 5-minute show on the average on canawanabuy.com, C-A-N-N-A, wanabuy.com, bringing you really cool information and stuff. It's a fun show, so check it out. And if you have any suggestions for guests and so forth, give me an email, info@mmjradio.com. Again, info@mmjradio.com. Monday the 25th here in New Mexico, 9 a.m. at the Runnels Building, DOH.
Shalom.